So, hey, everybody, it's Johnny Moe and stepping in for Tristan. And we have a very special guest, and we're going to talk about some really awesome stuff. I actually got to see Tony speak live many years ago. Boy, I think it was 2013 or 15, right around there. And it had me sticking to my seat, listening to every word. And I followed, I bought the book, and, I'd read the book at open houses when nobody was coming, and a lot of great, awesome stuff. And, I'm not going to delay it anymore. Tony Giordano. Some of you might say Giordano, but it's Giordano, according to him. Tony, welcome, man. I'm so honored to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
And we're gonna get into talking about some pretty awesome stuff that you're gonna share. And let me just say, for everybody here on behalf of Lab Coat Agents, Admin, and Mod, thank you for sharing. I think really there's some fear out there. People don't want to share their little secrets. And here you are, a top name in the industry, coming to share some stuff. And we're going to share some awesome stuff. Let me just read this. Voted John Maxwell top 100 leader, guest on Bravo TV, $1 Million Listing, CNBC's Power Lunch, and Squawk. National coach, speaker, and best-selling author of The Social Agent. And get that book. It's awesome. It's a simple read. It's really good, packed with a lot of information. President of Giordano Industries and Rise Coaching, president of the opulent agency Luxury Real Estate. Now, this is the guy that you all want to listen to. And didn't just happen. It didn't just happen. I can tell you, without ever even asking Tony, if he works hard, if he has a vision, if he puts effort into it. And by having these accomplishments, you do. So, Tony, what are we going to talk about today, man? I'm going to let you just pretty much take over because you're qualified to do that. So what are we talking about today, brother?
All right. Well, thank you very much for the intro. And before I begin the topic, major kudos and hats off to what you guys have done with Lab Coats Agents. I mean, it's pretty amazing, the group, the value it brings to people, and to have watched what you guys have built, and Tristan and Nick and your group over the course of the last few years. I'm honored to be a part of presenting to all of your people today. So thank you for the opportunity.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Are the slides up?
I can see them. Yes, sir.
Okay. So if the slides are up, then I will get into what the topic is. So today the topic is lead generation versus lead assumption, and mastering prospecting, also with great time management. Now, the reason I call it lead generation versus lead assumption is because there's a significant difference between the two. However, both will add a significant amount of value to your business. What is lead generation and what is lead assumption? See, in our business, all you hear about are instructors and coaches and mentors and teachers. They just keep lead gen, lead gen, lead gen, lead gen, lead gen, prospect, 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 prospect. That's what we have to do to generate extraordinary income. And that is true. The issue I have is that the majority of things people are doing that think it's lead generation, it actually falls under a word that I call lead assumption. And again, it will bring value to your business. So first, let's just talk about what lead assumption is. Versus the lead generation. We'll get to that in a second. So lead assumption, examples of lead assumption. First, lead assumption is what most, if not 95% of agents do every day, with most of them thinking it's lead generation. Examples of lead assumption. First, billboards, bus benches, shopping carts. All of these would be considered lead assumption, meaning you get a billboard assuming it's going to produce a lead. You advertise on a bus bench assuming it's going to produce a lead. The shopping carts, the movie theaters, the car washes, the baton that separates the groceries on the conveyor belt at the grocery store. That one I don't understand. It's you got to think what's happening there. Like she's getting the groceries, she's checking them, she's ringing you up, and then all of a sudden she stops and says, "Have you called Tony? Did you notice the baton separating your groceries?"
Got to get right on that.
Right, but everything else, all of these things are things that you put out there to assume it's going to produce a lead. Next, direct mail campaigns. I know agents who I coach, and I coach agents from rookie agents all the way to the biggest agents in America. And I know agents who think that sending out a direct mail campaign to a neighborhood or a town is considered lead generation. I don't consider that lead generation, not purposeful. I consider that you threw out 3,000 mailers, assuming, once again, it was going to produce a lead. We can go to email campaigns. So you're going to send out a massive email to your database, or a massive email out to a database you purchased or a database you've grown, assuming it's going to produce a lead, whether or not it was a Merry Christmas campaign, a just sold campaign, whatever it might be. All of these things you're assuming are going to produce a call and a lead back to you. Networking events. I will go as far as saying going to networking events, charity events, small business owner events in your neighborhoods or marketplaces, handing out your business card to another individual, telling them that you sell real estate, and then walking away from that person, leaving the event, assuming because you gave out your business card, that person is going to remember you in 3 weeks and say, oh, I gotta refer this person to Tony, that guy that I met 3 weeks ago. This is still falling under what I call lead assumption. Door knocking. Even going to the front door of a house and having a great conversation about their house and their garden and their little doggy that ran out of the front door, and you went and got the dog in the grass and brought it back to them, and how long have you lived here, and all of these, this long conversation you have at the front door, assuming that after you leave, they're going to remember you in 2 or 3 weeks and say, let's call him for a listing presentation. So even door knocking, I don't consider lead generation unless you did one thing. Adding friends on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or any online platform. So, oh, I read Tony's book. He said to add people, so I'm going to add people because that's lead generation. No, it is not. That is lead assumption, meaning I added this lady assuming that in 3 weeks after we build a relationship online, she's going to remember to refer me or her dad or her mom or her family friend, because now her and I are friends. Lead assumption is pretty much putting yourself out there and assuming it will produce a lead.
I've never heard anybody explain it like that, and I love it. Sorry to interrupt.
Now,
a fantastic explanation.
Don't get me wrong, because it will also make you an insane amount of money. All of those things we just listed will make you an ungodly amount of money. There's no question. However, I have another presentation, and as part of my coaching that I do for agents, called Shift Happens. And in that coaching strategy and action plan that I have about prepping for a shift, I talk about lead assumption and lead generation, but I talk and make sure people know all those things we just listed only work in great markets. So in a hot real estate market, you only need to put yourself out there. You can literally go to a networking event, say, hi, I'm a realtor, and you're probably going to get business in the next couple of weeks because so much activity is going on. So lead assumption works, but it usually works, all those things, in a very hot real estate market. Lead generation is simply one thing and one thing only. I will tell you first, before I tell you what it is not. Lead generation, ladies and gentlemen, on this call and watching this live, is not door knocking. Oh yeah, I said it. Tony just dropped that bomb. Lead generation is not door knocking.
I think you might have blown a few heads off.
Anybody says. Lead generation is not calling, cold calling. Lead generation is not texting. Lead generation is not mailing. Lead generation is not direct messaging on social media. Lead generation is not emailing. Lead generation is not any form of messaging or speaking to another human being. Those are all forms of communication, ladies and gentlemen. Those are not lead generation.
Wow.
Those are all forms of communication to talk to another human being. That's it. Lead generation is simply one thing and one thing only. It's asking 20 people every single day, do you know anyone else who might be looking to buy or sell a home? Now, in this statement, I want you to look at a couple things. First, do you know anyone else? Which means that this human being I'm talking to at this moment, I already asked them if they're looking to do anything with real estate. And once I've asked them that, whether they say, yes, I actually need to sell my house, Tony, will you list it? Yes, I will. Do you know anyone else who might be looking to buy or sell a home? See, what this statement does is it's exhausting all potential business out of this human contact. If I ask this question, I can turn around and walk away knowing I did not leave anything on the table. So it's asking this question to 20 people every day and getting at least 20 people to respond and say yes or no. So I might have to ask 50 people the question to get 20 responses, but I need 20 responses. I need 20 people to tell me yes or no. Now that we all know what lead generation is, everybody, now that we know that lead gen is simply just getting 20 people to tell you yes or no every day, now you get to look at your grocery list of forms of communication and pick what form of communication do I think is the best form to get to my 20 yeses and nos. That's all you're doing right here. See, so when I talk to people who are like, oh, I lead generated for 3 hours yesterday. Oh, what'd you do? I went door knocking. Awesome. So tell me about how many people you asked the question, are they looking to buy or sell a house, and do they know anyone?
So Tony, let me interject real quick.
Sure.
It simply comes down, what you're saying is it simply comes down to having that conversation and asking that specific question. That's
Yes.
the metrics.
And getting them to say yes or no.
That's simple
So-
brilliance.
And thank you. But when you look at this stuff, this is what I get tired of. Oh, lead generation isn't door knock. All these coaches out there that, oh, you should start texting people. Oh, you should start mailing. Oh, you should do it face to face. Stop it. Those are forms of communication. What we're talking about is, what are you teaching people lead gen is? Lead gen is simply getting 20 people to say yes or no. Now pick your form of communication. And if you think some archaic form of talking to humans is still the best way to get to your 20, sure, I could send 1,000 pigeons out there with my business card tagged to their toe saying, call me for a listing, but it doesn't mean it's the most effective form of communication anymore, does it? So I might not want to do that. I might want to stick with more of the modern day forms of communication. If you think some archaic form of communication by going house to house by horse and carriage is still the best way, most effective way to get to your 20, go for it. I don't care. I just choose to do it in the two most effective forms of communication today are, which is texting and social media. However, if I'm calling on expireds, I'm not going to text them and I'm not going to call them. I'm going to door knock them. So now if I'm looking at expireds as my pool, oh, this is what I want to lead gen today, then I have to say, now what form of communication do I think is the best form to get to expireds? Hands down, knocking on their front door, and not at 9 in the morning. It's going to be 6 in the evening when I know that they're going to open that front door. And the reason I need to talk to them in front of them face to face is I have to be able to say my script. And if I say my script, 9 out of 10 give me an appointment. Now it's a certain script that I can only give out to people who have built the back end in order to say this script that I have. And a lot of people cannot use this script yet, which is why I coach people on how to build a massive online influence and brand awareness, because then the script works. But that would be my form of communication for expireds. But reaching out to people in my phone, reaching out to people on social media, those are going to be other scripts that I have. So like in my book, I go into lead generation versus lead assumption, and I talk about it. Now, you had said it's a simple read. You were talking about the first edition, just so you know, Johnny, which was 2013, 90 pages. This one, if you look at the top on the right-hand side, this is the 2.0 update that just came out.
Okay.
This is not 90 pages. This is 4 times as thick and is much more advanced. However, it only can go into the why, into some ideas to help people. Anytime you really want to get to the next level, that takes coaching. But this book will definitely break things down for people. And in this book, towards the end, in one of the last chapters, I go into lead generation versus lead assumption. But what I do is I also talk about the forms of communication. And you'll notice that on the right-hand side, I've actually broken this down to ratios. So texting and social media messaging both are equal in their ratios. For every 100 people I send a lead generation script to, whether it's social media or texting, it has a 70% MRR, which is message response rate. Now, how many doors do you think you need to knock on, or phones do you need to call in order to get 70 people to actually respond and communicate back to you?
Many.
But with texting and social media, 70%. So if I just send it to 10, I know I'm getting 7 responses. That is massive. Mm-hmm. It has an average TTR of 2 minutes and 40 seconds, which is time to respond to your social media message or text. It only took them less than 3 minutes to respond to you. And then on average, a 10% LRR, lead referral rate. So for every 100 I send and start a conversation with, 70 start a conversation back. And on average, I get 10% referral out of the 70 people. So obviously this goes into action plans. There's other things you have to do. There's certain scripts you have to follow that I teach, but this is what you're ultimately getting, is ratios like this. Now, it can be whether or not, when we say social media, yes, you could be using Instagram for lead generation and deepening relationships with people, whether it's your personal Instagram or your business page Instagram. You could be using Facebook. You could be using LinkedIn. All of these are major lead generation platforms. The key, though, is first building a relationship with all of the people that you're connecting with, giving that time before you attempt to send one of my scripts to start a conversation of lead generation. However, no one can sit in a room with me and look me in the eye and tell me that these 3 platforms alone dominate any other form of getting in front of human beings and starting conversations, which is the #1 key to sales. And the #1 rule of lead generation is go where the people are. And where are people today?
On their device, man.
They're online.
Yeah.
So it's actually a little animation that I have. Imagine going door knocking, and on the front door of any house, it said 24 mutual friends, 7 similar interests. You both graduated USC and you both like the Boston Red Sox. How many of you on this call right now, if the front door of a house said that, would use the information on the front door when they opened it in your delivery, in your pitch? All of you. There's not one person on this call right now who would say, nope, I'm going to ignore all the information on the front door and I'm going to go cold. It's the stupidest thing you could do, right? Of course you would use that information. That front door would open, you to be like, hi, Sarah, my name is Tony. And she sees right here on my name chest, my name tag, oh, realtor in Brentwood, Los Angeles. I'm curious, Sarah, how do you know John, Jennifer, Jake, Jill, and Jane? It says 18 mutual friends here. Oh my goodness. You have a dog named Roxy too? I have a dog named Roxy. Oh, is this Roxy? Come here, Roxy. Oh, you're cute. So how do you know Jill? Oh, Jill's my aunt, Tony. I mean, do you see the quality of conversation that would happen at the front door of a house if the front door gave you that info?
Yes, sir.
But that does not exist in any form of lead generation except online, and no one is taking advantage of it. No one is creating a purposeful, strategic plan of online lead generation every day. And it's why that philosophy that you just saw on the front door. It's why chapter 13 of my new book is the death of the cold call. And this has rubbed people the wrong way because people are mistakenly thinking I mean something else. This is not saying the death of calling. This is not saying the death of knocking. This is not saying the death of texting. I'm not talking about the call. What I'm saying is the death of cold. Why would we choose to do anything cold when technology and access to information makes everything boiling hot now? I don't need to go cold. I don't need to go and knock on a door and not know who's going to answer the door. I can use a company like offers.com, who's the big data predictive analytic company, and have them go out and tag everybody in the neighborhood and say, Tony, you definitely should lead generate and door knock this house. Why? Because they're probably going to be selling the next 6 months. Well, how do you know that? Because the devices that are owned by the female in this house have only been searching on things related to maternity for the last 62 days. They already have a first grader and third grader. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house, and this is the year they're probably going to sell it and upgrade to a bigger home. This is the world we live in now, ladies and gentlemen, and no one's really taking advantage or truly understanding that nothing needs to be cold anymore. Yet I see it and hear it all the time as people are just doing things cold because they don't have a plan of attack. Now, this presentation, lead generation versus lead assumption, is normally 3-hour coaching session where I go deep into all these different plans and how to start, creating this. But today we obviously are doing it in a much shorter period of time, mostly because of our time and how often you guys do these webinars. So we can kind of know the difference of lead generation versus lead assumption and creating a purposeful plan of attack. Now let's talk about the reason why most don't, is because most people do not know how to manage their time as successful people do. Very successful people manage their time to the minute. And they also know what their time is worth. Because
yes, sir. 100%.
Our time is by far our most precious resource, hands down, over anything. There's not anything more precious than our time. That being said, what is your worth, first of all? So the first issue I see with people is they don't even know what they get paid an hour. So if you're a real estate agent on this call or a lender on this call, because I coach mortgage loan officers just because I was one for so many years as well, what either one you do, the first issue I see is not knowing our worth, which is most coaches out there will say, take how much you made in 2019. So if you made 100 grand, divide it by 12 months, or just divide it by 52 weeks. So take 100 grand divided by 52 weeks divided by 40 hours. And that gives you what your hourly rate is, right? I don't say that because that's what you're making now. Your worth is what you want to make.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to make $500,000 a year and you made 200 last year, then you need to take 500,000 divided by 52 weeks, divided by 40 hours, and whatever that number is, that's your hourly rate. And now the next time somebody says, hey, do you have 30 minutes? I need a favor. You have that rate in your head. And you have to ask yourself, we're not talking about family and friends. Obviously, we give them our time. We're talking about when somebody's trying to pull you away from work.
Tony, I actually have a paid link on my scheduler. I'm like, yeah, here you go. Schedule whatever time you want.
Exactly. I mean, it's important to do, but this is how very successful people manage their time, is they know what their time is worth. And a lot of agents don't. Mm-hmm. So that's exercise number one for everybody on this call, is take the time to figure out what your rate should be to be able to get to that point of making that money. Bill Gates, one of the most successful people in the world, Bill Gates in his book said that, do you realize that he takes it to a whole nother level? He takes it to the second. Bill Gates says that if he's walking on a sidewalk and he sees a $100 bill on the sidewalk, do you realize that Bill Gates does not stop walking, bend down, pick up the $100 bill, put it in his pocket, and start walking again? Why do you think Bill Gates doesn't do that? Because he actually knows that he wasted more money stopping to pick it up and not getting to his next destination, meaning he makes more in seconds than that $100 bill was worth.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has his time managed to the second. I like personally to think that I've gotten to the point in my success that if I see, a dollar bill on the ground, that I'll walk by it, leave it for the next guy. I like to think I've gotten to that level now, a dollar bill, right? But if it's a $5 bill, I'm picking it up.
Yeah, $100 bill, I ain't stepping over nothing.
I ain't stepping over, but I like to think I've gotten to the point for $1, leave it for the next guy.
Yeah.
So now that we know time is our most precious resource, we need to become masters at time blocking.
Yes.
And what I mean by masters at time blocking first is lead generation is actually blocked in our calendars every day indefinitely forever. Mm-hmm. So if anybody was sitting with me right now and they're like, oh, I wonder if Tony does. If you literally grab my calendar or you grab my phone out of my hand and you pull up my Google Calendar, you are going to see a time blocked window that said lead generation right there. Like you will see that it's in there. The reason it's in there and it's in there forever is because if I get a phone call and they say, hey, Tony, can you meet at this time? I pull up my calendar. Nope, sorry, I already have an appointment. I'm not going to let anything interfere with this already booked appointment. Very few people do this. And most people who do this are all in the top 1% in production in America as agents. They treat lead generation like a religion. It's in there. Now, why does it say CEO? Because you're every position of your business. Until you can hire that position, you are the CEO of your real estate business. You are the CMO. Notice what I do after lead gen, Chief Marketing Officer. That's an hour I dedicate with meeting with my marketing director and going over all the marketing things. COO, Chief Operating Officer. If you're not blocking time out of your days to do the 3 most important positions of any company in America, who's doing them? And you all need to act as a CEO. You need to act as a CMO. You need to act as a COO. And so you can see that I have it blocked at this level in my calendar. Now, as a coach, I'm a pretty direct and straightforward coach. Sometimes it rubs people the wrong way. Sometimes people love it. One of my coaching clients in Florida, I won't tell her name, she said, Tony, I didn't lead generate the last couple of days because I'm super busy right now and I had 2 home inspections in the morning. But besides that, everything is going good. It's a good week. I got new business coming in. And I said, why didn't you lead gen? And she said, well, I had a home inspection, so I couldn't. No, you chose to do a home inspection instead of lead gen. No, Tony, I didn't choose. It was the only time they could do. And there's other things we have to do as agents. And I know you're all about, lead gen, Tony, but I'm not going to play this game with you. I had to do it. Like I had to go to the home inspection. No, you chose to go to the home inspection. Tony, it was the only time they could do it. I'm sorry, but I had to. So you're telling me that if they could only do it at 8:30 in the morning on Wednesday, and you pulled up your calendar and you saw that you had a $1 million listing presentation set for 8:30 Wednesday morning, you would have said, sure, called the potential seller and said, hey, is there any way we can cancel and move the listing presentation to another time? I have a home inspection due now. No, you wouldn't, would you? Mm-hmm. Of course you wouldn't. Why? Because that listing presentation is way more important than the home inspection. So you just don't treat lead gen just as important as a listing presentation. And what do you think gets listing presentations, ladies and gentlemen? Lead generation. Yes, so sir. There are only 2 things that I allow my coaching clients to tell me why they didn't lead gen. There's only two things that can interfere with lead gen in the morning. Family or life occurrence, meaning an emergency, your children are sick, you're sick, something is wrong. Number one, that's number one. And number two, listing presentation. Only two things that it can interfere with lead gen, which means that showing a property does not even get to interfere with lead gen if you're representing a buyer. Why? Because would you represent and go show them property and cancel a listing presentation? No, you wouldn't. Now, if you're only a buyer's agent, that's fine then. But if you're one who does both, would you cancel a listing presentation to go show a property for a different client? No, you wouldn't. So lead generation has to be considered just as important. And some of my clients have gone as far as doing this little trick. I want everybody to look at the slide. CEO lead generation. If it says that, then they might allow a home inspection to interfere with it. Like, oh, lead generation. I don't want a lead gen. I'm going to go do a home inspection. So I said, well, then just switch it to 555 Sunset Boulevard listing presentation. Indefinitely, forever. This says the same thing every day in my calendar. And what that does is it puts the listing presentation more in your head than it does lead gen. And it reminds you, I can't let anything interfere with my lead gen. So my trick is go out and look for your dream listing in your town. Like whatever street it is, Hemlock Street, Main Street, West Street, whatever it is. I want you to go find a gorgeous house somewhere in your marketplace that you would love to list one day and put that address and listing presentation in your calendar every day for the rest of your life. Let it ping you the night before as an alert and watch what happens to having purposeful lead gen. And remember, I'm not saying don't do all the things that lead assumption is. You want to always do those things, but what are we doing to do purposeful, getting our 20 yeses and nos? And your lead gen can be just calling your database. Your lead gen can be your sphere of influence. Your lead gen can be family and friends. Your lead, I don't care what humans you're getting in front of, just get the yeses and nos. In conclusion, I have a little special gift that I told Lab Coat that I would do for just this Lab Coat group. This is strictly for you all and anybody in the Lab Coats group. The name of my coaching is called RISE. RISE stands for Relevant, Innovative Skill Enhancement. Now, yes, do I do one-on-one coaching with agents? Yes, I do, but there's only so much time I have for one-on-one. So we have a group coaching program where you're on the calls kind of like this with a lot of others, but it's a coaching session and it's a bi-weekly coaching call with me. I'm the one doing it with you. There's questions and answers at the end where you can get your questions answered. It's access to all my action plans, systems, scripts, tools that will help better your business. It's access to our private RISE group community where other coaching clients are in there. That normally, my group coaching program is $99 a month, paid annually. But if you go to this special landing page that we've established for LabCoat, it is www.labcoat.risegroupcoaching.com. You will get to see a lot of the topics that I coach on. You will get to see what you get. You will get to see what other huge coaching clients who have increased their business over the years and have hired me and my coaching program to get them to that next level.
If you're getting everybody, go back one slide, would you? If you're getting an endorsement from if you all don't know who this is, you're living under a rock. This guy is a legend. But if you're getting an endorsement from Bob Lucido, dude, hats off to you. You're doing something right, bro.
Well, not just that. I mean, these are all massive agents. I mean, Jason Mitchell just closed $500 million in 2019.
That's crazy.
In Arizona. So, but the reason I show this is because I don't want it to come across like people are being sold or anything. This is what others have said. So where I was going with this is special with that link. If you go to that website, labcoat.risegroupcoaching.com. Instead of it normally being $99 a month paid annually, it will only be $83.25 a month paid annually. So you're getting almost a $200 savings strictly for the lab coat people. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, I hope you enjoyed today, and we can open it up for some Q&A, or Johnny, you can facilitate anything. And I hope that was valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. I got a lot of points. I'm going to hit on a couple of them. If you're all listening in the group live, put your questions in the group and I will look through them real quick. If you are on the webinar, post them right in the Q&A section, and I see some people putting them there already. I just want to say this. You hit on something, Tony, in your schedule that you lead gen in every single day. And I agree with that, because what we have learned in, our industry is the analogy of the roller coaster, right? We all of a sudden, we're doing everything that we need to do. We get to that point that we're so busy that we stop lead generating. We go, like you said, we go to the home inspection. We do all these other things, and we skip out on our responsibilities. And then all of a sudden our production goes down. That's classic. So the word, I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you right now.
And hi, everybody. For those
I created a set of principles I train from called UPAD, Understand, Plan, Action, and Discipline. Discipline creates accountability back to the management level, where I think a lot of agents are skipping it. But discipline, how important is discipline? Because what you just showed is discipline. What maybe is a tip that somebody can mentally do? Because not everybody has that discipline gene. What's a mental tip or something that you could tell somebody to get that discipline going?
Well, first, lead generation is always called the hardest thing to do in our business. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody's like, oh, I don't want to lead generation. Oh, I hate lead generation. I hate rejection. I don't want to hear no's. When in actuality, lead generation is the easiest thing to do in this business. And I'm one of the only coaches that tell people this stuff. Mm-hmm. And the reason for it is getting a lead. Oh my gosh. You can buy leads today. Like, getting a lead is cake. And if you want to challenge me that it's the easiest thing, then the next time you see me and we're walking down on the street, you and I will walk into a Starbucks together, 10 people standing in front of me in the line, and I will just announce, anybody who knows somebody who's getting ready to buy or sell a house, your coffee's on me. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you, one, if not all 9 in the line in front of me, 9 out of 10 will say, well, my cousin's trying to buy a house. Tall, skinny, vanilla latte, please. Getting a lead is cake. Mm. So if there's anything that's going to help your discipline and mindset to actually block time to do this, it's realizing it's so simple to get a lead. You just have to block the time to do it. Mm. Conversion is the hardest thing. That is what people don't realize is the hardest thing, is converting a lead to a closed commission. And that takes systems, persistence, leverage. And I have a completely different coaching strategy on conversion. However, my discipline, a lot of people on this call, I'm sure you've heard of the book, The One Thing.
Yes, sir.
And I'm a certified coach and an instructor of the One Thing book. And in that, it talks about discipline, but it talks about the fact that you can't get more discipline. We all have a selective amount of discipline, a certain amount of discipline we've all been gifted. Mm. It's what we do with that discipline. So what you have to do is you just have to start doing lead gen every day. And what's going to happen is you're going to have to use your discipline initially on it. All of your focus is going to have to be on it until you create a habit of doing it. And then you're not going to need your discipline. It's going to be a habit. And now you can move your natural discipline to something else. But it takes that natural amount of our focus at the beginning. And let's just remember, if you do it, you're talking about extraordinary income, not here and there income, not getting by income. Extraordinary wealth comes from purposeful prospecting every day.
Absolutely. So we got a couple questions here. Sharon asks, what did you say you do during COO time?
COO. Oh, I didn't get into the CMO and COO because that's a different webinar.
Sure.
It's called my Chief Executive Mastery Schedule, and teaching people how to do all the positions of the company, because you're also the CFO. So once a week, are you blocking time to go over your P&L, the kind of return you're getting on expenses? Should you drop one? You're only getting a 3-to-1 return on this. I need a 10-to-1 return on my money. Because unless you have a CFO, you're the CFO. CMO is blocking time to just make sure I'm looking at all the marketing things that are going on with our brand or company. And until I hired my own chief marketing officer, which I have, I had to be the CMO. Well, now you can still see it blocked in my time because that's the hour or half hour that I meet with her. However, COO, what's a COO's job at any company in America? First, it's to leverage the CEO, and they're usually all the behind the curtain systems, leverage, hiring and firing. So your COO hour block should be behind the curtain, getting more systematic, setting up all the drip campaigns and the database, looking for other things to grow in the company, strategic partnerships, allied resources. When's the last time any of you took an hour to try to figure out who your 3 vendors for these 3 specialties were going to be, and to go out and pitch, and what they're willing to pay you every month to be on your website as the approved vendor for your brand or business? So that's what I'm doing in that hour as COO. It's just the behind the curtain, systems oriented, building the machine to leverage the CEO.
Yep. And you know what? I'm glad you said that. And through my growth and self-awareness, I've identified I'm better as a COO than a CEO. So that's kind of what I do. So leverage the CEO. I'm glad to hear you say that. I don't want to be that guy.
and that's, again, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people, you have to take the time to understand the Tony Robbins DISC, the personality assessments, and to understand where our strengths are.
Yes, sir.
So of course I have a COO now. That was a screenshot of what I had to do as an agent when I was first starting out. I had to be all those positions. Now I have certain positions that are leveraging me, but I still have to take the time to meet with them. But I am a horrible S and C in the Tony Robbins DISC assessment. My S is 17% and my C is 28, but my D is 99 and my I is 98, which means I'm a relationship person. I'm a lead generator. I'm going to go out there and build my business. I'm a CEO. That's me. And then I have to hire those people, but until you can hire them, you have to take the time to do it yourself. And
that's all awareness, y'all. Everything he's saying is awareness. And you said something on there about strength. So let me ask you, SWOT analysis. Do you do one? How important are they?
All of them. Yes. That's the AVA. I mean, there's so many out there, but I've always been a huge, fan of the Tony Robbins DISC, just because it gives me everything I need. And plus I coach multiple industries, so I don't want to just be a real estate related one or anything like that. But all of them are good. The key to these personality assessments and all of them is first understanding your own, and then making sure you get in the habit of anybody who you're thinking of bringing on, whether a transaction coordinator, a listing coordinator, a tech person, a staff person, an admin. You are forcing these assessments to be done, and then verifying and really starting to dig deep. I know coaching, like one coaching client of mine in Atlanta, she just has always got a turnover on her staff or her agents. And it's because the last 3 buyer's agents she hired because they reminded her of her. And the problem with that is you hired high Ds, and they're not going to stay on your team if they're a high D. That's not a buyer's agent. That's a listing agent. That's somebody who wants to build something. They're driven. They're ambitious. So a buyer's agent is truly a high S, high I. They have no desire to go out and lead gen on their own. They want mama and papa bear to bring food back to the den. Their job is to, once I give them that lead, that high S, high I nurtures it. They stay on top of it. They convert them and they close. And I know that they did it right. So it's really knowing who you're hiring based on their strengths.
Michael Gerber hits it. I follow this, right? Because I identify my mistakes and a lot of other things that I might read now or whatnot. And he says most people hire by abdication versus delegation. And they're just hiring anybody that they think can do the job or is similar to them, where that's exactly the person we don't want to hire, right?
Well, and there's a term, hiring out of panic, right? If you took too long and now you need someone and blank is going through the fan and it's just an absolute blank storm happening to you right now, right? Yeah. Now you go out and just hire anybody, and now it's just going to cause even more damage to your business and brand. Hiring out of panic is the same as eating out of panic. When we wait too long to eat and now we're starving, what do we end up eating? Crap. Crap. Just fast. That's why they call it fast food. You're just eating out of panic. You just need it. You need it now. Versus if we just felt it coming, or we don't even wait till we're hungry. We just eat smaller portions throughout the day, which is what the nutritionists say. Then you're never eating out of panic. You're never eating out of hunger. And that's the same thing. Don't hire out of hunger.
Yep. So 2 people asked, what is the link again? I know the first part is labcoat.rise.
Labcoat.risegroupcoaching.com.
Okay. So there you guys go on that. And then somebody asked, I already know the answer to this.
You might need to put www just because it might give you a hard time getting to the landing page if you just search. So put www.labcoat.risegroupcoaching.com.
Yep. So that answers that one. Asking 20 people is a form of communication as well, in addition to many of the other lead generation. I'll get to that one in a minute. Somebody asked, is it fair game to have your ISA doing this for you?
I mean, that's what an ISA is for, right? To get you appointments. So I prefer an ISA to be licensed. I prefer them to be somebody who's hungry on your team, a moderate to higher D that is going to build it with you and still doesn't have a desire to go build it on their own. They want to build this thing with you, because then they can do a lot more on the call and they can answer a lot more questions when they're licensed versus non-licensed, if you're following rules and, type of thing. Obviously I know a lot of ISAs that are answering questions for the agents that they shouldn't be answering, but whatever. So it just depends on what level you want to take it. But of course, anybody can do this. The key is setting up appointments. That's what gets us business. We need appointments. So whether or not you went out to get 20 yeses and nos or somebody else is getting 20 yeses and nos, it's getting the appointment.
Yeah. And somebody said asking 20 people is a form of communication as well, in addition to many of the other lead generation methods Tony is downplaying. Now,
bring it.
I think they missed the point.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely missed the point. Bottom line is, what we're saying is lead generation is simply one thing and one thing only: getting 20 people to say yes or no. So the reason I'm downplaying all those things is you cannot call door knocking lead gen if you never ask the question. That's what we're talking about. I know people who are out there door knocking and just having stupid conversations with people and talking about their garden and saying, well, if you ever need any help, here's my card, and here's a grocery pad, and here's a little bag of seashells and sand with my business card in it. Call me. That's lead assumption. You're assuming that they're going to do that. But if you had asked the person at the door, so do you know anyone else who also might be thinking of buying or selling a house? That is purposeful lead gen. That is high level lead generation right there, exhausting all potential business out of that human contact. So that's what we're talking about, is stop considering those forms of communication lead gen. Those are just forms of communication. Start remembering what lead gen is: getting 20 yeses or nos.
I love it. And I think that's spot on. And those are activities, that's what they are. They're forms of communication. They're activities. If you don't ask the question, lead generation didn't happen.
Yeah.
right?
It's
It
like
didn't happen.
texting. Texting is a form of communication. If I start a conversation with somebody in my phone right now and I say, how you been? Oh, I've been good, Tony. How are you? Oh, great. All right. Big gulps, huh? Yep. I love big gulps. All right. See you later. That wasn't lead gen, but I'm texting. No, lead gen is I conclude that, by the way, if you happen to know anybody looking to buy or sell a house, I had a goal of helping 100 families achieve the American dream in 2019. I'd love an intro. By the way, let me know who I can send your way. How's your insurance firm doing? That is lead gen.
That is beautiful right there, bro. We could have a whole segment on just that.
Oh yeah.
In your power circle, inner circle,
Right.
allied forces. Everybody's got a name for them, right? Your referral partners. We could have a whole day about that.
Exactly. My language of sales presentation that I do, it's called Modern Day Language of Sales. And it goes into these scripts. It goes into these ways of starting a conversation and then coming at a different angle and then hitting them with the strike and hunting them for an answer. But it's all about time blocking and being purposeful about it.
100%. That's it for the questions and stuff like that. So give us again how people can find you on IG, how they can find you on Facebook, how they can find you on the worldwide interwebs.
Yeah, Instagram is Tony_Giordano, Tony_Giordano, or any of my like other Instagram accounts, but that's the one that is, you know, my personal life. Facebook, Tony Giordano. Then there's business pages called Tony Giordano. And then my website, you'll be able to find everything you need from there. My coaching website, which is Giordano.global. So if you're on Giordano.global, everything that I have, it's all on that website to go and find me online and find my social media and all that good stuff.
And you mentioned Brentwood earlier, so I assume you're out there in Brentwood?
I am in Brentwood, Los Angeles is where I live, yes.
All right. So y'all, if you need a top-notch agent out there in Brentwood, hit them up.
Yeah, and if anybody is in North Carolina on the call or watching in the Facebook group and you live in the triangle of Raleigh, North Carolina, or Cary, I will be presenting there this Wednesday. And if you are in Charlotte, I will be presenting in Charlotte on Thursday. So I'm always on a plane every week speaking because my amazing wife, London, runs our real estate team, so I can go do what I love, which is teaching.
That is fantastic. Hey, dude, it all started with a thought. Then you put that thought into action, and anybody can get there. Anybody can achieve these big things. Like I said, it was like 7 years ago I saw you speak, and to watch you over the years, and even the things that you talked about back then are still so instrumental today, right?
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and I love it, and it helped me to get more active on Facebook because it is probably the single most powerful tool out there to communicate.
Yeah, hands down.
So on behalf of Lab Coats, brother, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day, sharing what you know and everything with the group. And man, hats off to future success for you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And thank you, Lab Coats. You guys are doing amazing things.
Awesome. Peace out, y'all.